Okay, hi, I'm Seb Bacon. I'm Chief Technical Officer at the Bennett Institute. Before I start, I should say I got ChatGPT to do all of my pictures because I'm lazy and it amuses me. But that means you can't trust anything you see. And also, it made this logo up for me. This is not the logo of the project yet. So this session's about what's next for OpenSAFELY. One of the things I'm very excited about is OpenSAFELY schools. And that's because we've always had a very big vision for OpenSAFELY that goes way beyond just health data. We could use it to study so many more different types of aspects of how we live and work. We could look at environmental data. We can look at workforce data. And so I'm really excited to describe how we've started putting that vision into practice with OpenSAFELY schools. OpenSAFELY Schools is a project to apply the OpenSAFELY principles to teaching data. In education, the most important intervention is how we teach. Excuse me. Qualitative research about teaching and outcomes is still in its infancy, and the research that does exist at the moment is largely from US data and studies. For example, we know from the US data that letting children work together in small groups correlates with better scores in English classes. And also we know that teachers do improve very rapidly in their early careers, and when people do actually improve later in their careers, that's strongly associated with schools that have a supportive work culture. However, even though schools in England collect vast amounts of data, as a nation, we still know very little about effective teaching practice. And there are three fundamental problems here. First of all, almost all the English language research comes from US settings, and we're not sure whether these findings translate. Second, teachers tell us they are absolutely swimming in data, but they struggle to interpret it. And third, researchers just can't access this information at the moment. There's technical barriers, there's the fact that the data is in unstandardized systems, and of course there are really important concerns about governance and privacy. So why can we do this right now? Well, obviously, as we've been talking about all day, OpenSAFELY brings something to the privacy story that helps solve some of those problems I talked about. But the real secret for solving this is the amazing team at the National Institute of Teaching, who we're collaborating with on this. They're leading a large 5-year research program funded by the Nuffield Foundation, and some of them are here today, so I can introduce you afterwards if you're interested in chatting to them. So at OpenSAFELY side, we're bringing the technology and the expertise in running a secure service, and they're bringing the expertise in actually getting hold of this data, understanding it, and they're running the research program. We'll also be working with researchers from Evidence-Based Education, UCL's Institute of Education, and Faculty AI, and our bit, doing the OpenSAFELY bit, is directly funded by XTX Markets. So, the National Institute of Teaching, who, as I said, are the core part of this program happening, was originally funded by 4 multi-academy trusts, which are MATs, they're known as. These are very large national organizations, each of which runs lots of primary and secondary school academies. The trusts are responsible for this unique research opportunity because, first of all, as trusts, they're very committed to systematic improvement in teaching. Second, each trust uses somewhat standardized data collection within their schools, so that gives us somewhat standardized data to work with. And thirdly, they work at relatively an enormous scale to what people have been able to do before. We've got access to data on 6,500 teachers, 115,000 pupils, and not 17,000 schools. That's ChatGPT making up the numbers. It's 170. So the collaborative has already done some really interesting proof of concept work with one trust. So for example, they looked at the relationship between high performing teachers and class outcomes. And they found that even statistically low performing teachers teach a significant number of classes that perform as well as the best classes. And that variation within each teacher's performance suggests there's a lot more here to discover about what makes teaching effective. So what sorts of things are we expected to do with all this new data? Well, we can finally address problems that have never been studied systematically and quantitatively before anywhere. So things, apparently quite simple questions like, do children perform better at maths when it's timetabled at the end of the day? Or what happens to overall outcomes if you assign the strongest teachers to the highest sets, or vice versa? And these aren't just academic questions, these are questions that teachers face every day and have to make decisions about every day. So our ambitions, of course, aren't only about the research, this is also about making really great infrastructure. So we think this data set's going to help the UK compete globally in the field of quantitative educational research. And we want to build it into the biggest and best teacher training database in the world. And of course, we want to use OpenSAFELY to raise standards in educational research infrastructure around things like open code, open ways of working, and privacy standards. So that's why I'm really excited about this project. We can finally show what we've always believed, that the OpenSAFELY approach can work in any domain where we analyze sensitive data about individuals. And I think it's a great new strapline at the bottom. Now include UIcorns. Thank you.